If you clicked on this video, you likely feel like your parents' therapist other than their child, right? Maybe they unload all their emotions onto you, venting about stress, their relationships, even their trauma, leaving you emotionally drained and responsible for their well-being. Does this sound familiar? If so, you're definitely not alone. This is what we call being an emotional confidant. And for many of us who grew up parentified and in dysfunctional families, it became our default role. But you were never meant to carry your parents' emotional burden. And in today's video, I'm going to help you break the cycle, set boundaries, and redirect your parents toward the right resources for support without feeling guilty or shame or like you're a bad person. So let's dive in. First, let's talk about how this dynamic started. For many of us who grew up in dysfunctional families, our parents saw us as their safe space. Maybe they didn't have a therapist, supportive friends, or even the emotional maturity to handle their own struggles. Instead of protecting us from adult burdens, they leaned on us, and sometimes subtly, but sometimes outright, made us feel responsible for their feelings. This might have looked like a parent venting about their marriage or dating life, a parent sharing financial or personal struggles they should have handled themselves, a parent treating you like their therapist, expecting you to listen, give advice, and let's be honest, when this starts at a young age, it feels normal. You might have even felt proud for being their rock. But here's the problem. It comes at a cost. And I want to talk about the impact on you. Let's talk about the emotional exhaustion. You are giving emotional support without getting any in return. Then there's confusion about boundaries because you learn that love equals caretaking, which can bleed into your adult relationships. Then there is the guilt and obligation because even when you recognize the dysfunction, you might feel responsible for fixing or rescuing them. And let's talk about the struggles with intimacy because you were so focused on your parents' needs and emotions that you might struggle with your own emotional needs in relationships as an adult. Does this sound familiar? Let's talk about how to break free. Breaking the cycle starts with understanding that it is not your job to be your parents' emotional caretaker. So let's reframe something. Boundaries are not cruel. Boundaries are clarity. There is a big difference in that. And I want to offer you some perspective. If your parent needs emotional support, it is not a rejection of them to say no. It is a redirection toward healthier solutions and toward a healthier relationship between the two of you. So let's talk about how to set boundaries without feeling like a bad person. Number one, stop playing the therapist role. When they start venting, pause before engaging. Ask yourself, am I their child or am I stepping into the role of emotional caretaker? Instead of giving advice, say, that sounds really hard. Have you considered talking to a professional, a therapist who can help? And number two, limit emotional availability. If your parent calls you just to vent, then you don't have to pick up every time. If they ask for emotional support, then try, I love you, but I don't have the emotional space to talk about this right now. Number three, redirect, don't rescue. Instead of absorbing their emotions, offer alternatives. Something along the lines of, I hear that you're struggling. Have you looked into counseling or a support group? Or, that sounds rough. What do you think would help? This puts the responsibility back on them. Number four, reprogram your guilt response. If you feel guilty or like you are the emotional crutch, you can tell yourself, my worth isn't tied to how much I carry for others. Guilt is not proof that you're doing something wrong. It is just proof that you are doing something new. Now, what happens when you start setting boundaries? Well, expect resistance. When you start setting boundaries, it is normal to be met with pushback. Why? Because it is something new. Your parent might guilt trip you. They may get upset and accuse you of being selfish. They could try to guilt trip you by saying, I thought I could talk to you about anything. I thought we were close and I could count on you. And they may ignore your boundaries and push harder. This is not a sign to back down or that they're a bad person. It's a sign that the dynamic is shifting and nobody is pleased when you stop people pleasing. Healthy relationships respect boundaries and dysfunctional ones resist them. So if your parent reacts negatively, stay firm. Remember, you are teaching them a new way of relating to you. They may not like it at first, but they will adjust, or you will adjust your expectations of them. And in this process, you reclaim your emotional energy, your self-worth, and your right to have your own life. I know that stepping out of your comfort zone and the emotional confidant role isn't easy, and it takes time. It takes unlearning old survival patterns and building new boundaries from a place of self-worth, care, and love. Remember, you are not responsible for your parents' emotional well-being. You deserve relationships where you are loved for who you are and not just for what you can provide. In fact, I bet you that if your parent knew how much pain they are inflicting, they would not like it. And if this resonated with you, drop a comment below and tell me what's one boundary you want to start setting today. And if you need more guidance and healing from parentification and dysfunctional family dynamics, make sure to subscribe and check out our Self-Worth Hub membership, where we go even deeper into breaking these patterns and reclaiming your emotional freedom. You are worthy of relationships that feel safe, balanced, and reciprocal. I will see you in the next video. Take care and please remember your resilience.